106, Surah Quraysh. As usual, we'll do the Arabic, the translation, and then explanation. And if we have some more time, we can go and do a little bit of intro. Actually, if you're using the website where this little arrow is, and you press it, you click this intro. Okay. The arrow expands, and you get a very good introduction for every surah. Okay. For this surah, I had the time to read all of it, and it's a beautiful explanation of what was the context when the surah was revealed. Okay, so we'll start with the first one, and let's start with Abrar. Abrar, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, please give me 1 second.
Okay, well, let's go with Sania then.
Okay, sir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Li ilafi Quraysh. Since the Quraysh became accustomed. The word alif, ilaf, as used in the original, is from alf, which means to be habituated and accustomed to be reunited after breaking up, and to adopt something as a habit. About the lam that is prefixed to ilaf, some Arabists have expressed the opinion that it is to express surprise and wonder. Thus, li'ilafi Quraysh means how surprising in the conduct of Quraysh. It is only the virtue of Allah's bounty that they are reunited after their dispersion and have become accustomed to the trade journeys which have brought them their prosperity. And yet, from Allah's worship and service, they are turning away.
Very good, very good. Okay, just a few words. Jessica, you want to read the underlined words?
Sure. Okay, accustomed. That's something that you're used to. I also noticed, I think when she read wonder, she said wunder. And I noticed that's just something you guys sometimes do, where you make the W sound like V's. So I'll just point out that it's wonder.
Where is that word?
Oh, express surprise and wonder. It's in the third line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So hold on 1 second. So the issue here is V versus W.
Yes.
So how? So I guess how would your mouth move if you are saying V versus W?
I think for me, when I'm saying V, I notice my top teeth are on my bottom lip, but when I'm saying W, my top teeth are not on my bottom lip.
Okay.
It's
the teeth and the lip. So V, the teeth are hitting your lip.
Yeah.
And W, they are not.
Yeah, W.
Okay. So how would you say the word?
So wonder.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put an easy word here with V.
Right. So that is that the word you wrote is van?
Van, okay.
Van.
And versus?
Want.
want. Okay. I struggled with this for a long time because in Arabic and in our national language, both words are essentially captured by one word. So the distinction becomes difficult. Okay.
Yeah, I understand it, and I know a lot of South Asian people who, when English is their second language, they seem to do the same thing. So I think maybe it's just a difference with the language.
And
Yeah.
there's another word that we really struggle with for a long time. I'll write it down. Which that's a funny one.
Oh, lawyer versus liar.
Yeah. So here, A sound is that of a vowel.
Uh-huh.
So lawyer. Yeah. And some people will say that liar sounds the appropriate one for both, but anyways, so lawyer versus liar, that's another one where the W sound becomes kind of lost. Okay.
Okay.
So I put a question mark here for Arabist. That would mean.
Oh wait, a question mark for Arabists.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I don't see that word that much. I'm wondering if that means people who study Arabic, perhaps. Because I guess it is talking about the Arabic language. So in the context, I would assume that it's somebody who studies Arabic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our civilization or language.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess if we are to continue our underlined words, the next one is conduct, and that means somebody's behavior, how they conduct themselves.
Okay.
And then dispersion. So that's when things go apart, they disperse.
When they spread.
Yeah, spread is also good.
Okay. And then let me actually do this one again too.
Prosperity. So that's like wealth or doing well. Isn't it?
Thank you. Riches and wealth. Okay. Jessica, do you know the Arabic of this or not?
I'm not familiar with the Arabic. I guess I think I can tell the first line says Alifa Quraysh, but something like that.
Yep. And then let's go with the translation and let's read the passage.
Okay. So since the Quraysh became accustomed, the word ilaf as used in the original is from alf, which means to be habituated and accustomed to be reunited after breaking up, and to adopt something as a habit. About the lam that is prefixed to ilaf, some Arabists have expressed the opinion that it is to express surprise and wonder. Thus, li ilafi Qurayshin means how surprising is the conduct of Quraysh. It is only by virtue of Allah's bounty that they are reunited after their dispersion and have become accustomed to the trade journeys which have brought them their prosperity. And yet from Allah's worship and service, they're turning away.
Thank you.
Sure.
One quick question.
Yes.
This word is dispersion or dispersion?
Oh, the way I read it is dispersion.
Okay. So the S has the sound of sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think when I spoke, I had a sound of more like closer to Z or za. Okay. Okay, dispersion. So thank you for helping me here as well. All right, next, Abrar.
Yes, sir. This is the opinion of Akhbash Kisai.
Your voice is very low, Abrar. Your voice is very low, Abrar.
Sorry, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, better. Yeah, better.
This is the opinion of Akhfash, Kisai, and Farah. And holding this opinion as preferable, Ibn Jarir writes, when the Arabs mention something after this Lam, the same thing itself is regarded as sufficient to show that to the attitude and conduct a person has adopted in spite of it is surprising and amazing. On the contrary, Khalil bin Ahmad Sibawi and Zamakhshari say that this is the Lam of Talil and it relates to the following sentence Fayabudu Rabba Hazal Bait, which means Allah's blessings on the Quraysh are countless. But if for no other blessing, they should worship Allah at least for this blessing, that by His bounty that they became accustomed to the trade journeys. For this by itself is indeed a great favor of Allah to them.
Very good. So there was, I think, only one word here, which we just read earlier.
Right. I think he did that very well. I also noticed this. He did do the same thing with worship, where he said worship instead of worship. I know that's hard because it's different in your language. So that's just something for people to practice.
So the same issue that when you say V, your top teeth touch your bottom lip.
Yeah.
So let me explain in Urdu. जब आप लोग V और W में आप मिक्स अप कर रहे हैं, V की आवाज निकलेगी जब आपके ऊपर वाले दांत नीचे वाले होंठ को लगेंगे, ओके? लेकिन जब आप W बोलेंगे तो सिर्फ आपके होंठ एक दूसरे के साथ लगेंगे, आपके दांत नहीं लगेंगे, दांत जो है होंठ पे नहीं लगेंगे, ओके? जब V बोलेंगे तो ऊपर वाले दांत नीचे वाला होंठ, जब W बोलेंगे तो सिर्फ ऊपर वाला और नीचे वाला होंठ, ओके?
Can I correct these?
Have your hand with?
Yes, sir. Can I correct these words?
Sure.
Conduct worship.
Oh yeah, that was a lot better.
Shazia?
Worship.
Yeah, that sounds better. Good job.
Sir, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sir, it was dispersion when we Google it.
Dispersion. Okay. Yeah. So that's I think I struggle with that word too. Okay. So how would you say the first word here, Jessica?
Conduct. So once again, that's someone's behavior.
Okay. So say the word again.
Conduct.
Okay. Conduct. So it's always a little bit stressed. Shazia, how did you read it? Read this word again.
Conduct.
Okay, better.
Yeah, that sounds good. And
then
then,
we got
worship.
Worship.
Yeah, to
Worship.
pray.
Worship. When you said W, would your lips touch? I just explained that the lips would touch each other.
Well, no, I mean, when you say V, the top teeth touch the bottom lip, but when you say W, your teeth are not touching your lip, basically. Like almost like the way your lips, it's like the way you form your lips when you whistle, almost, I guess.
Okay. W. Worship.
Yeah.
V. Okay, so when you say V versus W, just in the letter, the V, the teeth touch the lip. In W, the lips touch. But when you say something like van versus want, in pronunciation, the lips still touch the tooth when you say V. But in W, you make the sound of a whistle. Yeah.
Yeah,
जैसे
your lips.
आपको
Yeah.
जैसे आप बजाते नहीं है whistle को क्या कहते हैं सीटी W की उस तरह की आवाज W वाले लफ्जों की ऐसी आवाज निकलती है. Okay, so you did pretty good here. So let's go with Umar for this one. Umar, are you there?
Yes, sir. आवाज आ रही है सर? Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف. Accustomed to the journey of winter and summer. That is the trade journeys. In summer, the Quraysh traveled northward to Syria and Palestine, for they are cool lands, and in winter southward to Yemen, etc., for they are warm.
Okay. This is going to be a tough one to fix W. Okay. Jessica, how would you say the underlined word here?
Warm.
Warm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this will take us a few weeks to get the V's and W's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want to read the translation here and the explanation?
Let's see. Yeah, and I think this Arabic I'm not as familiar with, so it's like a la femme. Oh man, I think I'll have to practice it on my own, so I don't.
That's fine. Let's just go with the translation and the explanation.
Yeah. So, accustomed to the journey of winter and summer. That is the trade journeys. In summer, the Quraysh travel northward to Syria and Palestine, for they are cool lands, and in winter, southward to Yemen, etc., for they are warm. I was curious, do you guys know what ETC period means? It's kind of like a abbreviation. When you see it, it means etc. Etc. is not actually an English word. It's it comes from Latin, but it means like et means and etc. means the rest, and it means like you're starting a list that you're not finishing. So it's like, well, there's more to say, but I don't have time to say all of it. So just etc. etc. etc.
I think in Urdu we use the word
Vera?
wagera. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So number 3. Let's go with Arsalan.
Yes, sir.
Arslan, can you do the number 3? Arslan, your voice is very low.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Mhm.
فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. Therefore, let them worship the Lord for this house. This house, the holy Kaaba. The sentence means the Quraysh. The sentence means that the Quraysh have
attained to this blessing only by virtue of the house of Allah. They themselves acknowledge that the 360 idols which they worship are not is Lord, but Allah alone is its Lord. He alone saved them from the invasion of the army of elephants. Him alone they had invoked for help against Al-Bara army.
Okay, so let's stop
It
here. Okay, so a few words underlined. I think the one was the Lord of this house. I think you just got confused. So I'll quickly point that out and let's move on to the other underlined words. Jessica?
Sure. So, means, I think that was probably just a situation where he ran out of gas and just didn't say the S, but he corrected himself. Means, so it's, I guess when you say what something means, you know, what it is, I guess, what it,
It's some explanation.
yeah, some explanation of something. Attained, so accomplished, achieved. Yes. Virtue is morals.
I think here it means blessings, or
Yeah, could be blessed virtues.
but
Could be
then it's kind of difficult to explain the word virtue here for me.
right, because of the way it's by virtue of the house of Allah. So it's like it's the house of Allah blessed them.
Okay.
So idols, they're false gods. They're the little statues, I guess they were worshiping in the Kaaba.
Yeah. And I wanted to quickly compare this with another word, IDLE.
Yeah, just to be idle, to kind of not be doing anything, to do nothing.
Do the two words sound about the same?
When I say them, they sound the same. Idle and idol. I guess it depends on your accent. But I guess with my accent, when I say them, they sound the same.
Okay. Yeah.
And
so they sound the same.
Yeah. And the number before that is 360. 360 idols. Okay. And then there's elephants, the animal, the elephant. And then after that is invoked. So they requested, they asked. And then I guess that's it.
Yeah, and I think then this is the Arabic word here, Abraha.
Yeah, braha.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if that story is in Bible as well. Do you know, Jessica? Oh.
I think I've briefly heard the story of the invasion of the elephants. What year did that happen? Was that in maybe you might have to tell me.
I think it's about 100 years or so before Islam. Let me see if the exact year is mentioned in the surah, in the explanation. No, it's not.
The Braha who tried to, right?
Yeah, and who tried to attack Kaaba from the south.
Yeah, and in the year 570, I guess it's known as the year of the elephant.
Yeah. I just have a broad idea that it was about 100 years or so. So yeah. So anyways, so that's when like Abraha was essentially supported by the Abyssinians. And I find the story a little bit somewhat interesting in the sense that, on one hand, the Abraha was a representative of a state that was attacking Kaaba and Mecca, and then 100 years later, when Islam came, the Muslims tried to find refuge with Abyssinians in Ethiopia.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't remember all the history, what happened within those 150 years, but geographically, the Abyssinians were a client state of Byzantine, and they wanted to encircle the Arabian Peninsula so they can have access to the trade routes.
Mm.
Okay, so all right, so let's read the passage, Jessica.
Sure. Therefore, let them worship the Lord of this house. This house, the holy Kaaba. The sentence means that the Quraysh have attained to this blessing only by virtue of the house of Allah. They themselves acknowledge that the 360 idols which they worship are not its Lord, but Allah alone is its Lord. He alone saved them from the invasion of the army of elephants. Him alone they had invoked for help against Abraha's army.
Jessica, are you familiar with the fact that they had the concept of Allah before Islam?
Yes, I am familiar with that they had a concept of a god who was in charge of all the gods, in charge of their pantheon, and I think they called him Allah, but he was like a distant god that wasn't very involved in people's lives, and they focused a lot of their worship on these three, what they thought were these three daughters of Allah.
Yeah.
That's what I understand.
Yeah. That's my nascent understanding as well, that they were familiar with the concept, but it was very removed when all else failed. Then they went to Allah. But it wasn't because of the intermediaries, and that's where they usually just stopped.
Mm.
Okay, so let's do the next passage with Imran. Imran, you there? मुज़्ज़मा
फोन लेगा सर, उसकी ना हवा उधर से आवाज आ रही है।
चलो अब आवाज आ रही है?
Yeah.
It was his house, the keeping of which enhanced their rank and position in Arabia. Far before that they were despised and commanded no position whatever. Like the common Arab tribes, they too were scattered factions of a race. But when they rallied round this house in Mecca and began to serve it, they became honorable throughout Arabia, and their trade caravans began to visit every part of the country fearlessly. Therefore, whatever they have achieved, it has been possible only by the help of the Lord of this house. Therefore, they should worship him alone.
Okay, very good. So we have a few words here.
Okay. So the is the keeping?
The keeping. I think he said they.
Oh, okay. The keeping. And then the next one is enhanced. So that's like improve, make better. Enhanced. And then after that is dispersed. It's pronounced dispersed.
Yeah,
We
so
talked about
here the word astro means asteroid.
dispersed. Yeah. And we talked about that earlier. It means to spread. They're not keeping together, they're going apart. Okay. And then the next word is scattered. So scattered actually means pretty much the same thing. It's similar to dispersed. It's things kind of going apart or falling apart. Instead of
So this is actually a very good example that these are almost synonyms.
yeah, synonyms.
Yeah, so to scatter means to disperse. To disperse means to spread. Okay, so
Right.
those words have their slight meaning difference in meaning, but they're almost synonyms.
Right. And then the next word is rallied. So rallied. And here it means to come together. So it's like or it's almost like the opposite of dispersed here.
Yep. So rally around means to come together. Versus when you mispronounce, you said relied. Okay. So usually you hear this word of rally as like a car rally in Pakistan. So yeah. So the verb form here is to rally. Rallied is the second form. So when they rallied around his house. Okay, next.
And it's I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this word, but it's the antonym of scatter. A synonym is two words that have a similar meaning. An antonym is a word that has an opposite meaning. So it's the antonym of scattered and dispersed.
So let me write this. Let me write this. Antonym is opposite.
Yeah.
And synonym is similar.
Yeah, it's similar.
Okay. So antonym means a word is opposite. Synonym means a word is similar.
Right. Opposite meaning. Okay. And then the next one is became. So I think he just read it as become, but became is the past tense of that word, meaning it already happened. So they became. And then the next one is throughout. So
through, and he read it as throw out.
So
throw is like when you throw a ball. Okay.
Right.
It's throughout. There's another word that's similar.
Yeah, so throw, is to throw a ball, as Bilal was saying, and then through is, how do I describe it without using the word itself? Is to kind of go into something.
Yep.
If you're going through a door, you're going into the door. You're going in one side and out the other. So and then I guess that's
and then I wrote a few other words on top. So it's just similar, but so throw versus do versus thought. Similar words, but slight difference in meaning as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read this.
Okay. So it was his house, the keeping of which enhanced their rank and position in Arabia. For before that they were dispersed, and commanded no position whatsoever. Like the common Arab tribes, they too were scattered factions of a race. But when they rallied round this house in Mecca and began to serve it, they became honorable throughout Arabia, and their trade caravans began to visit every part of the country fearlessly. Therefore, whatever they have achieved, it has been possible only by the help of the Lord of this house. Therefore, they should worship him alone.
Jessica, I'm going to underline a word in blue. How would you read that?
Wait, whatever.
Whatever. Okay. So
Whatever.
when Jessica was reading in the rhythm, she read whatsoever. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
no big deal. And and I, everybody makes these mistakes, and I wanted to say that because whatsoever is an other similar word, and a lot of times we make mistakes when we're reading, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It happens. Okay, so we're going to the number 4, Munassa.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف, who fed them against hunger and secured them against fear. The allusion implies that before the Quraysh came to Mecca, they were a scattered people in Arabia and living miserable lives. After their gathering together in Mecca, they began to prosper, and the Prophet Abraham's peace be upon him prayer from them was literally fulfilled when he had prayed, Lord, I have settled some of my descendants in a barren valley near this sacred house. Lord, I have done this in the hope that they will establish Salat there. So turn the hearts of the people towards them and provide fruits for their food. Surah Ibrahim, ayat 37.
Okay, very good. Okay, so what? All right. All right, Jessica, you want to read the underlined words?
Sure. So the first one was allusion, which is a reference to something. And let's see, the next one is lives. So this is a tricky one. I think it depends on memorization, because when you're using it as a verb, it is lives, as you read it. But when you're talking about it as a noun, their lives, it becomes lives. Like it's so it's kind of tricky, and I can understand why that would be.
So I guess a quick side
It's a
note.
plural. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jessica lives in Virginia.
Yes.
Or Bilal lives in Illinois. These are respective states. Or I can say Bilal lives in Chicago. And what's your city, Jessica?
Woodbridge.
Jessica lives in Woodbridge. Okay. But then if we're talking about our lives, I can say our lives are busy. Or so no, like it's used here. And then there was a similar word, leaves, which is a plural form of leaf. Okay, these are the little green things on the trees, patta in Urdu. So very similar words, but different meanings.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The next, I put a question mark on prophet's name, on a prophet's name,
Uh-huh.
because in Urdu, when we are referring to the prophet, we use the word, we use the spelling.
Ah, right.
Okay, so it's the same prophet, but in
Mhm.
Urdu or Arabic, I don't know what Arabic actually. In Urdu, we definitely say Ibrahim.
Yeah, I think in Arabic, I've definitely seen it as Ibrahim,
Yeah.
in many cases. But yeah, in English, it's usually Abraham.
Abraham. Okay. Okay. The next word being
And then thy.
die.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Near the. Near the. This is Old English. A lot of modern English speakers, speakers in America, they don't really use thee and thou. Those are just kind of older pronouns that people used to use. But I guess,
yeah, I'm just gonna put an X to it. It's too old for.
yeah, it's too old for us to really be useful for you.
Yeah.
Unless you're reading Shakespeare or something. Okay. So the next word is hearts. So it's your heart in your chest, the organ that pumps blood throughout your body. A lot of times the Quran refers to people's hearts instead of, as their hearts are pure. So I think in a spiritual way, it's a part of your body that I guess, how do I explain this? It's I guess if you're a good person, your heart is pure, it doesn't have a stain on it. Whereas if in the Quran, if you're a bad person, your heart has like a blackness or a stain on it, like a window that's covered with smudge and dirt. So I guess it's just the heart is something that the Quran refers to a lot.
Yeah, and it's because it's also a very visual sign of life.
Yeah.
Right, or not visual, but something you can feel, right? For example, in the modern medicine, how you define a person, a living person, is by a few metrics. One is your brain, one is your heart, and the level of their function. But back in the day, it was only heart. And heart was the one that was considered that it has a connection with the universe and it's pumping, and it was direct parallel between your actions and your life. Okay, so let's read this passage.
Okay. So who fed them against hunger and secured them against fear? The allusion implies that before the Quraysh came to Mecca, they were a scattered people in Arabia and living miserable lives. After their gathering together in Mecca, they began to prosper, and the prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, prayer for them was literally fulfilled when he had prayed, Lord, I have settled some of my descendants in a barren valley near thy sacred house. Lord, I have done this in the hope that they will establish salat there. So turn the hearts of the people towards them and provide fruits for their food. Surah Ibrahim, ayat 37.
Oh,
so I'm saying
yeah,
it was thy house. Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on your pronunciation, but yeah, it's an old word anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about it.
Yeah, so actually this is a pretty good parallel right here. I did not notice that earlier. Same Surah Ibrahim is where they refer to it, versus in the translation they're using the Western spellings. Okay, so let's moving on to the last footnote. Let's go with Khadija.
Can I start, sir?
Yeah.
Secure against fear. Secure from the fear from which no one anywhere in Arabia was safe. And there was no settlement anywhere in the country, the people of which could sleep peacefully at night, for they feared an attack any time from any quarter by some unknown enemy.
So
Can I go ahead?
let's stop here quickly, because I want to give a few people some turns. There's a word here, by any quarter. What does that mean here?
I guess if you're asking me, that's to give someone some hospitality, or to let them stay in your house.
Yeah. Okay. So it's again one of those literary words, which means to give hospitality, to be a good host. So Khadija did pretty good, so I don't think we need to.
Oh yeah, yes, she got almost all of them right. I think the first word, I think she said escure instead of secure, but aside from that, all the other words were good.
Oh, I did not notice that. So the first one was secure. And then Khadija, quick question: what are these called? I circled something.
This means to explain. To
Okay.
explain the other
And
one.
what is this sign called?
Sorry?
What is this sign called when you have two dots on top of each other?
Colon.
Yeah. So this is a punctuation mark called colon. Okay. All right. So next, let's go with the Sumer.
Yes, sir. No one
So
could
go ahead.
step out. आवाज आ रही है सर मेरी?
Yeah, yeah.
No one could step out of the bonds of his tribe for the fear of life or of being taken prisoner and made a slave. No caravan could travel safely from the fear of attack or without bribing influential chiefs of the tribes on the way of safe conduct. But the Quraysh were immune from every danger. They had no fear of an attack from an enemy. These caravans, small or big, freely passed on the trade route everywhere in the country.
Okay. So good job, Sumer. But let's figure it or work on a few words and their pronunciation. So the first, Jessica, go ahead.
The first one is bounds. So bounds, that's like limits, perimeters. The next one is caravan. Caravan, that's like a group of vehicles that are all traveling together. Like a group of
I think, we use the word usually caravan back in Urdu too. So it's like when you say the word car, it's a longer alif, but here it's a short one. So it's caravan.
Yeah, that's how Americans say it, but maybe the British say it differently.
Very possible.
Very possible.
So it's van has a short a, van, but here car, a has a short a as well. I struggle with this word because this is caravan, but Americans just say caravan.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one was I think he just confused
conduct.
There. Okay. Conduct. So same word again. Conduct.
Yeah. One's behavior. Okay. And then their caravans.
Okay.
And then routes. So it's like the way people are traveling, their route, which road they're taking.
And
So I guess
actually, I have a question, Jessica. Would you say route or route?
Oh, I think that really depends on someone's dialect. Like some people I've heard say route, some people say route. So I guess that's another tricky thing where Americans say it differently depending on where you are in America.
Okay.
But yeah, I've definitely heard trade route.
Yeah, and again, I have heard both, and I wanted to just point out that hey, sometimes it's no big deal. Somebody says, "Oh, this should be route or it should be route." Okay, fine. Who cares?
Yeah.
Same thing with caravan or caravan. Like maybe the British say caravan and Americans say caravan. So it's not. Some of these words are no big deal.
Right.
Okay, and then the last passage. We're almost at the hour. Let's go with Shazia.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As soon as it became known about a certain caravan that it belonged to the keepers of the Kaaba, no one could dare touch it with an evil intention, so much so that even if a single Qurayshi was passing on the way, he was allowed to pass unharmed and untouched as soon as the word harami or ana min haramillah was heard from him.
Okay, very good. Okay, so 2 words here, Jessica.
And I wanted to compliment Shazia on pronouncing caravan the way we just discussed. So she did a good job of that. But the underlined words are known. So something they know, they have knowledge of it. It is known. And then Qurayshite. Qurayshite. That's not a common word people say in English, so I'm not entirely sure the correct pronunciation, but I know the shite at the end would be turned into shite.
Yeah. So I think in Urdu or Arabic we say Qurayshi, like somebody who's from the Quraysh tribe. Qurayshite or Qurayshite would mean somebody who's from that tribe. So again, very uncommon and word in English. So it's not that big of a deal. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Jessica, when you mentioned this word from that Shazia used correctly, you said you wanted to what, Shazia?
Compliment.
Very good. As if you said commend or compliment.
They're both kind of similar.
No, I forgot. So
I said compliment.
You said compliment. Okay, so compliment. Compliments mean when you praise something, somebody did good. Okay, so that's compliment. But you have to be careful with this word because there is another word, compliment. Okay, and the only difference is I versus he. So I believe with I, it means praise of somebody. So caravan is a word we just covered, and Shazia quickly used that learning in her when she was reading it. And the word with E, does that mean opposite?
I think that just kind of with the E is just to make something complete. They're not necessarily opposites. I think they're just different words.
Yeah, I have only read that in mathematical sense. So complete. Okay.
Yeah, it's just to make complement. It's to complete, to make something perfect, make something whole.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, the words are so similar. I could see myself making that spelling mistake myself, to be honest.
Yeah, so very very similar words, and these words are usually identified as confusing words. So
Yeah.
just no big deal. Just be aware of these things. Okay, so we're almost at the top of the hour. We will stop the recording here, and we'll also let Jessica go.
Okay. Well, it was good seeing you, Bilal, and it was good seeing the rest of you guys. And I hope you all have a good weekend. And Juma Mubarak.